Live. It's alive. That's how professional. I'm sorry that I went right into my professional talk. That is as professional as it's going to get. Um, I I woke up one morning and said, I know what I'll do. I'll just invite people, whether I know them or not, and I will just go live, and whatever happens, happens. And I have never had to say, Scott, toss this person out. They pretended that they were doing this, but now it turns out they've got some sort of cult agenda that they're trying to push. It's never happened. I've done a few just all by myself or talking with my husband, but the vast majority has been usually two people, one, two. I've had a screen full, which is what I've seen other people do, but it doesn't give anyone a lot of time. But it was fun to do as reunions, people who'd had their, 20 minutes or whatever, and just came on to say hi, and do you have any updates? And then I moved and got as busy as any person can with a group that you're familiar with, the Friends for Life. So I'm just going to say, Lance, your last name is Summey, Summey.
That is
and
correct.
I get to your place where you are. I'm going to let you state your own position, your title,
Sure.
that probably something that someone else has occupied that same position, because it's a larger group than Friends for Life. So I get there on Waco Drive before I make it all the way out to that end of Waco to say hi to Inez and the gang.
There you go. Yeah.
You're on Waco Drive, and tell us more. There's got to be more than just your location.
Yeah. So, as you said, my name is Lance Summey. I am the franchisor, I guess is the title, but I'm the franchisee for Homestead. So I own this location. Homestead's the largest network of franchises like this in the country. And yes, I purchased the business from a gentleman who had it for 17 years before I did. He had taken care of his family member of his and decided this is what he wanted to do. And so he brought Homestead to the Waco market. Now it's been over 20 years ago, and I was thinking about ways to get back into a human-centered business. I've been doing some real estate and some other things, but my master's is in social work, and I really wanted to get back into a way to not only provide for me and my team, but also that was connected in the service and dignity of people. And I had spent some time with one of the local hospitals in their fundraising and philanthropy division. And so again, healthcare felt like a good place for me to be. We'd had family members transition into some senior care situations over the prior number of years. And so all of that kind of culmination kind of led me here. And yeah, we're about 6 months after I bought the business, I bought our current location as far as the real estate, and we moved the office over here onto Waco Drive to be kind of right in the middle of town and easy to kind of get really anywhere we need to get, whenever we need to get there. So that's a little bit about me.
Your real estate expertise came in handy. Who knew?
That's
to own a franchise. My goodness, I thought you were going to have, like a string of coordinator, executive, blah, 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 which maybe you put on your letterhead or something, but maybe this is great, because real estate, it is human. You are with humans, but you could keep most of what you talk about at this level, and the moment that someone comes to you, they're already ready to just go, and it's upsetting when this happens, and some of my siblings aren't really on board with this, and do you have any advice on should I have someone else there? Should I move in with them? I mean, it just it goes to the deepest need level,
Yeah.
and you and your staff must hear things like that regularly when somebody just, I don't know, they just need to kind of gush for a moment about what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, so the way I say it, and this is a little bit social worky, but in real estate, I spend a lot of time in business, and at the core of 98% of our decisions was fundamentally about profit. And there is nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with money. I don't think that money is evil. I think that money has the ability to kind of show you who you are in some ways. I have
Huh.
friends that are fabulously wealthy, and you'd never know it. And I have people that are that are not fabulously wealthy, but put on airs as if they are. Right. So money is
Sure.
not the problem. But in that, what I found was that I I like the challenge and the art of dealing what
Mm,
we call a lot more of the psychosocial element of a person, and that gets more into the thoughts and emotions and feelings. And so, to your point, so much of what we do is not just about mom needs care. How much do you charge? I mean, that's the way a real estate transaction is.
right.
Much is the house? What's my rent? What's the pro forma? What's the back end on the cost structure going to be? But when we're dealing with a person and we're dealing with an aging mom with dementia, as an example, who's got a long term care policy,
Mm,
it's not always. In fact, it's honestly very, 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 very rarely about money. It's generally about the way I feel as an adult child, taking care of my adult mother and her fragility, but she doesn't want to give up her independence, but her
right.
fragility and her independence are now compromising her quality of life and her quantity of life.
Sure.
And so again, we deal with a lot more of the we can get care, but how do we do it in a way that is truly caring and nurturing to a family unit, not just a family member? And that to me is it is a lot more appealing, and certainly a lot more challenging, because to me the profit and loss becomes a black and white transactional deal, dealing with multiple family members in the middle of their own level of trauma, and
Mm,
being able to sit with them and meet with them and not steer and not direct, and listen and pause and
mm.
let them guide that journey, leaning on you the whole time. That is something that I've never found in real estate the way I see it here.
Did you say there
And
was
so
an art to it?
I fundamentally believe there is. I think there's an art.
Yeah.
I don't care what soft skill, and quite frankly hard skills too. We can say, boy, that artist is great. We can say that accountant is incredible at their craft. I think it's the same way when I'm with certain people that I find are really good listeners.
Mm,
They're really good at being present. They're really good at why are the soft skills any less artistic and any less skillful than the hard skills, hard skills? And so again, with my
mm.
team and with what we do, I try really hard to find the right people and cultivate the right skills, so that again we're artistic in what we do, not from a loud and flamboyant way, but because there is a skill in stabilizing a room. And if
Wow.
you've
Yeah.
experienced that, you know that. And if you've never experienced that, I hope you do, because when you watch somebody move into a room and watch the dynamic shift to a calm, not a heightened warmth, but a calmer, cooler level, that is
Mm.
a skill. That is a skill that can be practiced and refined. And
To
and
be,
that's what
yeah.
I love to do.
Listening to the vast majority will be adults. I'll
Mhm.
say seasoned adults,
Yep.
people who have navigated the whitewater rafting of life. You
Yep.
know, they've put a kid in college.
Yep.
They have moved to a completely different region of the earth for a
Yep.
job. And then they come to something is completely flipped, and they're like, I know I was intelligent coming up to this moment, and now I seem to have no idea how to paddle my
Mhm.
white, my
Mhm.
raft any. Why do I not know how to do this? I haven't found a school that requires you to know how to navigate aging, your own aging, let alone the aging of others, that requires it. I haven't found a high school that has a course in, this is what to expect in generalities having to do with aging. I haven't heard that there's a college that says, well, everyone has to,
Yep.
understand social workers and navigating insurance and all that. It was
Yep.
like, it's just not a subject before you. It's not on your desk until it is. And you're like, I've never seen this before. Why
Yeah.
do I not know this? I'm going to see if I still have it right here. I do. So I was thinking of two words: compassion and cleverness. Um, I had the opportunity to design 3 homes, the floor plan, the
Mhm.
front elevation.
Yep.
And I needed to be clever to fit it within the parameters of the property, making sure that I wasn't putting something permanent over an easement and things like that.
Yep.
So I enjoyed the constraint of I need to make this work as efficiently and maybe even as aesthetically pleasing as possible within the constraints. And then there's the compassion part of realizing that even if you have 2 people in your office and one is very gentle in the way they talk, very quick to go, whatever you say, that's what we want to do, and the other person is um, more jaded, more questioning, more, that both of those people are completely valid in
Mhm.
searching for what they need, because one of them is going to be great, much better than me, at getting back to you with all the details on time, etc., that you need to know pertaining to a situation that seems to need care. And when you talked about the listening, to be able to hear, there is something that is a common bridge, I'm going to say again, between these 2 people, that both of them are not quite identifying yet, that both of them are maybe saying the same thing. We just want his best friends to know that we are not taking over his independence. We are not, we want him to feel comfortable and say nice things about us and not get the whole neighborhood or the rest of the family mad at us as we
Yep.
are trying to make sure
Yep.
that quality of life and quantity of life are not both going down on the graph,
Yep.
and so to be able to hear that. But you have a person that works with you,
Yep.
and likely that she was a speaker for a women's group of about 80 women,
Yep.
and there was one man there. He was looking for stories that have to do with media, news broadcasting, and boy, he ran into you know, dozens of them as each woman stood and talked about her area of expertise or what she's passionate about, etc. And so I'm just holding this up for a moment. So Anna spoke about how to care and how not to carry. And she gave this great example because I can visualize. She says, everyone's got their own backpack. If you come alongside someone and take their backpack and flop it over on top of your backpack, that really actually isn't helping them because you can't maintain that. Period. Doesn't matter. You
Yep.
cannot maintain it. So when you learn how to adjust their straps so that the weight is in a better spot, when you make certain that you are clear and understood, that you're going to remove 2 or 3 heavy objects temporarily. Like you get to leave the house and I will text you if your loved one has any concern that I cannot address. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to wonder, are they going to be able to find their favorite sauce in the back of the fridge? Anything, because I will, and I'm going to temporarily take from you the weight of having to always be there, and very often feeling bad if something happens and you didn't know ahead of time that this person was going to trip or that this person was going to use a product in a way that isn't good for them.
Yep.
Whatever the situation, it's easy to think dementia, but also there's the part that you come home to someone who's having anxiety over something you thought, oh, I wish I hadn't left that mail right there for them to open and think,
Yep.
what is this? Why am I getting a final notice like, oh, I meant to throw that away. It's junk, it's scam, it's fraud, or we took care of it.
Yep.
Those sorts of things.
Yep.
So yeah, not carrying, but caring. And that can apply to your very independent loved one who has always been independent, has possibly been independent longer than you have been alive.
Yeah, and so I think there's a lot there, right? And so I back up often, and one of the first points you made, and I think you made it very appropriately, is that
Mm,
we aren't teaching this societally. And the
yeah,
the comparison that I would give to people listening that may be fair or may be unfair is those of us that were parents or are parent. Like I went through a parenting class, but before my son was born. But I can remember the first time I held that kid and I was going, I am woefully ill equipped. And I was right. I was right. But what makes me a parent is not I have the answer, it's I'm going to be present. And I'm comfortable that sometimes I don't have the answer. And so I think
that's
to your
right.
point about Anna's perspective and our approach to care, care is not always carrying. There
Mm,
is care in carrying, but part of what we deal with a lot is when I watch somebody, and let's use an adult daughter or an adult son as an example, or hard situations, two adult daughters that see the care of mom very different.
right.
Your question, your analogy, one is soft, one is too hard. They're both right and they're both wrong. You're exactly right. But when
Mm,
it gets squirrely and when it gets unhealthy is when it's about either and not mom. When I walk into a
um,
hospital room and I got two adult women griping at each other about take her home, leave her here, she can come live with me, she needs to go to nursing home. All of that tension, all of that emotion is absolutely real and it's absolutely misplaced because all of the focus about my angst and your angst, we're not talking about the client. We're not talking about what mom needs. We're not listening to mom if mom can articulate
mm,
her thoughts. And if she can't, what professionals are in the room helping us guide us through this to find
Yeah.
neutral common ground, because we both want care for mom, but we both can't get our own way, and in that we're being destructive, not healing for mom or each other. And so I think fundamentally, when you as a caregiver don't have the answer, great, it's a good place. I'm glad you realize you don't have the answer. Very rarely do we have all the answer. What I
Mm.
want and what I ask my team is, I want presence. Listen, and I want that focus not to be on me, but I want it to be on you. Again, we send a caregiver into the home with somebody with advanced Alzheimer's who's got sundowner. I can't send somebody who's real soft, because they won't handle that well.
Mhm.
And we personalize this a little bit more. I personally take care of a Vietnam veteran that has ALS. I take care of him several times a week. I do that because it's my ethos not to sit behind a computer and Excel spreadsheet and be in QuickBooks. I want to
Very
provide
good.
care.
Mhm.
I'm going to call him Steve. His name's not Steve, but I get Steve
Right.
up in the morning. I help him get out of bed. We go to the commode. He does his morning routine. We get off the commode. He showers. I bathe him. We go to the kitchen, or we go to the bathroom where he brushes his teeth and combs his hair, and I put in his hearing aids and all the things. Christine, there are tasks that he performs in limited mobility as an ALS patient that he really struggles to do. His right hand is, as he refers to it, it's basically a hook. He cannot function with his right hand.
Mhm.
There is so many times that I could step in and do tasks for him to mitigate that right hand so he's not challenged to use it, but he knows and I know that he needs to maintain as much mobility, even in pain, as he's willing to do, because when he stops, he'll lose it. If I'm too hard, he loses. If I'm too soft, he loses. And what we try to teach, and I work with my team really directly on, is
Mhm.
a practitioner, a caregiver, if you will, may know the answer they think, or may know how to be real strong or real soft. But an advanced practitioner knows when to be strong and when to be soft, and when to say, I don't know, but I'm going to sit here and make sure that Christine's safe. Because I think even though we may not know the next step, most of us know dignity, respect,
Yes.
safety. And that in even if I don't know what's going on with Christine in this moment, and she may not know what's going on because of whatever health acuity is going on, I can stabilize as much as I can to make sure that she's safe and taken care of. And if we can do that, we are carrying more than we're carrying, and creating more problems down the road. And so I'm not saying that everybody can do it. I say that all the time. I think a lot of people go, I can care for mom, sure, and I'm not going to stand in your way, but but it doesn't always look and feel the way that you think it's going to look. We take care of a lot of people that, again, adult children can bathe their parents. Nobody's going to stop them. I got a lot of 40, 50, and 60-year-old people that do not want to bathe the parent of the opposite gender, and the parent doesn't want that. Okay, let us do those things for your family. But again, in that, knowing how to do it, knowing that it's not just a physical task, it is a psychosocial ecosystem that the family's dealing with, the person's dealing with, others are dealing with. Understanding how to navigate that is again the difference between, in my opinion, a novice and a professional.
I recommend that people. Um, I'm going to say it, and then you finesse it or fix it or whatever. I recommend that a family contacts Lance and starts a kind of have a soft open
Yeah, yeah,
on and that you forgive yourself, or you take on a mindset of, we're going to give this a try. We're all
Yeah.
going to welcome in a stranger into this situation.
Yeah.
Welcome them in by being silent if we have a hard time with it. Welcome them in by saying, we want you to know that this is a good place for you to sit when you're not directly serving. We'll always have a clear spot there because we tend to spread the forms we're filling out and everything all over the place, but that'll be your place. Whatever little thing that says,
Yeah.
we're glad you're here. I recommend that you call and talk and have, give this I'm going to say a temporary try, so that your mindset isn't, oh no, if we sign in or sign off on this, it's like we're giving up on,
Yeah.
the family should do everything, etc.
Yeah.
And at the same time, be in agreement as much as possible with the end user, who is, of
Yep.
course, in this case, the fictitious name Steve,
Yeah.
who is limited by ALS from doing what he used to do, or doing
Yeah.
it with that speed or efficiency, or with safety.
Yeah.
And so give it a try and really, just go. There's one thing we know how to do, and that is to recognize that a situation is new and very different, whether we did it on a vacation to a place that didn't speak our language, whether we were in a social group setting and someone said, oh, you got to meet my new friend. They would just love to come in and, do
Yep.
what we do for fun.
Yep.
And you don't go, well, if it's new and it's different, it's wrong. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I haven't had that attitude in my 20s or 30s or 40s, on up to this point. So to learn something, to be ready and expecting to learn something from that person. Because when I was a hired caregiver, both on my own, I freelanced,
Yeah.
and I also worked, purposefully. I put myself under a group in a different state,
Yeah.
and because I wanted backup. But I learned from other caregivers, whether it was the spouse of that person, whether it was someone else who was hired, whether it was a person that I saw when I was turning in some paperwork or attending one of the continuing education classes. And someone said, if you're having trouble with getting all the skin clean at once with a person who is reluctant for a number of reasons, they can't be away from their oxygen hose that long, to be in the shower, but they love the shower. Their cognitive changes are disoriented by changes and wetness, etc. Whatever it is, or you know what, this is taking my dignity away. I feel human. I heard that. It's just humiliating.
Yeah.
And a few pieces of advice that I gave to, well, first of all, someone gave to me as a caregiver was, then aim for one arm and make a note of it if there are multiple caregiving people. Aim for one arm one day, the other arm another day, the leg, just divide the body up, maybe only the backside, just divide it up. By the end of the week, everything's been covered. And I went, never thought of that. It isn't, I didn't need an algebra class to figure that out. I needed someone to just give me, um, paint me a word picture. I could do that because that's usually what would happen is we would get so far and then it was, this has to be over with. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's brilliant. What I told other people was, especially as um, I would serve people who were born well before me, who were males. Um, and here I am. When I was a female, I was seen as much younger, and I wasn't wearing a nurse's uniform.
Yep.
It just, I didn't, I was never required to wear scrubs. So I simply didn't get them. And that might have helped in those situations. But in the one situation, I said to the man, if our situation was reversed, if I was the one with a brain injury, with a condition, Parkinson's, etc., I know that you would give me as much dignity as you could,
Mhm.
even if it
Mhm.
took 4 towels. I know, and I was talking through the things that I was doing. I know that you would hand something to me and say, do your best. Let me know if I can finish up for you. And you take care of you.
Yep.
And that we would talk about things like, well, what kind of salad dressing should I make? The doctor said, less salt, and so are you interested? And let's talk about other things while we're going through this routine and have a forward focus. I know that you. So I was talking through what I was doing or what I had done with others, but giving them the opportunity to say, oh my goodness, it could have been different. I could have been the person that was sent in by Home Instead
Yep.
to care for you because I seemed to be the right person that Lance would go, you just have a quality about you. So there was a,
Yep.
a female, she was the one needing care. There were multiple medical situations. And I mentioned back at headquarters, really responds well to one son
Yep.
for all of those personal, undignified, potentially humiliating things, really responds well. And I know that we have male caregivers. I would recommend, because I had been the only one going there, and
Yep.
I said, I someday I will not be able to make a shift. I would
Yep.
actually recommend, oh, it turned out so well
Yep.
because the man that they sent in
Yep.
also thought, oh my goodness, this person used to be a musician.
Yep.
I'm going to bring my some sort of stringed instrument. I don't remember if
Yeah.
it was guitar, banjo, ukulele. I'm going to bring that. And that's what I want to talk about with her as we go through this, as she has had to be invaded by another. When you call Lance, think to yourself, I am going to learn about what this is. If I'm already welcoming and open and
Yep.
listening to the caregiver, I'm going to be better and feel better about what I'm doing. And I will have a neutral person for my brothers and sisters or my loved ones' siblings, if I'm a spouse or what have you. I'm going to have this instant neutral person that we're not actually paying for all this advice, but we're getting it anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to get better at this. I'm finally getting to have that class that I
Yep.
I feel like I missed out on because nobody requires.
Right. That's right. That's right. And I think in a lot of ways, the analogy I tell people is, think about being on an airplane, and they tell you the first thing about if an airplane starts
Yeah.
to stumble or falter, you put on your oxygen mask first. We deal with people in trauma. We deal with people that are scared, they're fatigued, they don't have the answers to the questions. And quite honestly, Christine, and you know this, we deal with a lot of families that really have no idea what the truth about the matter is in the home, because we either don't know
Mm.
what mom is being honest about, and I'm not saying mom's being intentionally dishonest. Sometimes mom doesn't know, or sometimes we have a spouse that's kind of covering for others. Well, he just forgot the one time. Well, that was. So first off,
Yeah.
admit that you don't know sometimes. That's fair. And find somebody that you feel comfortable asking the questions. Could I do my own taxes? Sure, but I don't. I go to somebody that knows more, and that's what they do every day. My accountant can do my taxes better than I can, even though we both know how to use a calculator. It's all he does. He better be able to do them better. And so this is the world we spend. My office team, most of them have been doing what they do in excess of 20 years on average,
Mhm.
each. And so again, they
Wow.
better have answers to questions that you don't have, because this isn't what you do, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you love mom less. In fact, my stance is I want to get to an expert or to somebody who's seen this or done this to figure out what's normal or what's not. And so find
Yeah.
that person that you can turn around and go, I, I've noticed this with mom. Normal, abnormal, make it, PCP, counselor, psychologist, whoever that is that you want to start with. But then, yeah, we spend a lot of time meeting with families to just do basic education. Let us talk through what's going on and see, is that normal, is that unnormal, or not normal. The other thing that I tell families, and really challenge your audience to think through, is um, sooner is almost always better. And that is not a sales pitch for our services. You mentioned the idea of including mom in her own plan of care for her own dignity. Well, my gosh, let's do that when she's at her healthiest and most competent. Let's not wait
Mhm.
until we've gotten four falls and two hip fractures and she's coming out of rehab and blah, blah. Like, we see so many families that try to, bubble gum it and duct tape it. And I'll go by there every evening and make dinner, and I'll go by there and run her errands, and I'll drop off. That is noble. And that's part of wanting to care for somebody. But at the same time, it can really quickly become an enabling situation that isn't healthy for the adult child or the parent. And so again, I think sometimes the sooner you can turn around and go, Mom, I feel like we could get it a little bit more. Well, I don't need it. I'm not saying that you have to have it. I'm just saying you've worked hard. I'm busy. Let's figure out a friend that can kind of be that mutual companion to make sure that you've got a little bit more support. I think those things are valid. And yes, to your point, we don't sign a contract. We have a service agreement that shows the state of Texas that this is why we're here and this is what we do. But if a family feels like, hey, we're not going to continue, then that's fine. We take care of a lot of people that come out of both hospitals, that we're there for more of a hospital to home program, where in the post acute world, that first 30 days post op, post admission, discharge really matters for their reimbursement penalties from the federal government. And so again, there's a lot of people that will go in and help in the home for 30 days just to make sure. Again, dad had a pacemaker, he's got lift restrictions. Well, he can't lift a gallon of milk off the top of the fridge. How's he going to take care of himself for the next few weeks following a pacemaker surgery? Let us come in for a few weeks, few days a week, whatever, and just make sure that we have a little bit more elasticity in that rubber band before it snaps. Because what happens is often we wait until that rubber band snaps, and then we go, oh, wait, I don't know. How did we get here? Well, we got here 6 months ago. You just didn't listen and identify and accept where we were headed. But we never, this, but we never
Mhm.
reverse aging. we we are headed towards further and further gradual decline, almost
Right.
all of us, day by day. Bring in people early into the conversation. Even if you're not ready to have
Mhm.
somebody in the home, start the conversation so that when we are ready, it's not out of left field and we're not going, well, what does this mean? No, start the conversation early. Find professionals that do this. Find people you can begin to trust and lean on, and make that an ongoing conversation, similar but not dissimilar
Yeah.
to parenting a child. I watched people parent children long before I was a parent. Was I equipped to do it when I held my son? No, as I articulated, I still felt like a duck out of water, but it wasn't completely foreign because I had watched some other people do it. And I had people that I could call and say, "Hey, mom, he just did this. Is that normal?" No, that's not. Yes, that is. Have that tribe that's helping you navigate this, because when it
Mhm.
gets hard is when you're doing it all yourself and you tell yourself that that's what love is and that you're really good at taking care of your mom. And when you're taking care of your mom, you're not taking care of your spouse, you're not taking care of your kids, you're not taking care of your job, you're not taking care of yourself. There's a lot of you're not taking care of because you're carrying and you're not caring. And so again,
Yeah.
find people that you can lean on and say, "Hey, I'm 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 a little bit worried about my mom. She's 92, and I'm noticing some things that are just I don't know." Right? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's just start there. You don't necessarily need services. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But let's start a conversation about how to make sure that we begin to put on the oxygen mask on ourselves so that we're better equipped to handle the care of someone else who's sitting beside us.
Yeah. It's so emotionally charged.
Sure.
It is so emotionally charged when you're close to that person, when you've seen them elsewise. Um, and it's emotionally charged if you have been caring for that person since the age at which all the other kids are, skipping over to hop on the bus, but your person, your child is using a wheelchair that has a portion that holds their head up, and you have just been fixing
Mhm.
and treading water,
Yeah.
etc. So it doesn't matter whether you have the years of experience or whether it's just come. Like I think to me, the most evil of all the things that happens as people continue to live that we call aging is a stroke, because there may be zero warning. There's the other diseases that don't seem to come like an an explosion. What was that? But that can come like an explosion. Anyway, I'm the things that you're saying, it just goes with everything else that you did in life. I think that young people, in fact, I heard a gal on TV last night going, I think one of the best things about being my age is that you don't think, oh, gee, there's going to be a lot of obstacles to overcome. Will I be up to the task? You just think, oh, potential good things can happen. And so a young person who decides, I'm just going to go and walk Europe. I'm good. Or at the silos, I met a young lady from Brazil. She's a polyglot. She's a lawyer. And she just decided, I'm going to go see Texas and then I'll go back to my workaday job, back home in Brazil. We just had this great conversation. And she said, the one thing that I know about myself, because I've done this before, is that I get lonely for a time with a person. It seems like everything is tourist, tourist, tourist. And so I just had this great conversation. She goes, can I hug you? I haven't hugged anyone in weeks. And I'm going, and you're Brazilian. And she goes, oh, yes, it's food and hugs. And, you know, and so it was great to experience that with her, but it's temporary. This person hasn't gone on a journey and they're just going to live that way forever. They actually collected some money ahead of time. They
Yeah.
talked to some other people who had been to Texas, United States. They expected a positive experience because they prepared themselves with some of the lingo, some of the words that, if I can just say some of the words the experts have said and actually know what I'm talking about. The difference between Medicare and Medicaid. It was like, that was just crickets to me. Beep, 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 beep. It was like, there's a difference. I thought they were interchangeable. Just, all these things, if I could just know a little bit. So I'll tell you that after I only was a caregiver for 7 years. So I'm way behind most of your work associates. But I did identify some aspects of aging, thus the name of this show that you've come to be in today. And I kept writing notes and leaving them in my little purple caregiver bag. No identifying, man, I am really good about privacy. But just things that I realized from home to home to home, this seems to be the way things are. And so I wrote a book, self-published with my husband's help. And so that particular book, you can find it at agingbetternetwork.com, and then click on books. It'll be up above, books, and you'll find pre-act. So as in PRE, like before you age, pre-act your age. So it's actually using the word act. It's practical. It put into practice, like what to do. I made it a prompted journal, as in choose this answer or write a different one if you think of a better one, or choose from these answers. And it's, all about, what if that was your situation? What if you were aging so well that your own kids are experiencing aspects of aging below you? And you're like, oh my goodness, I just became a caregiver. I wasn't. They were perfectly capable, but now this has happened, that has happened, this has become an issue. Not little babies. This is grown-ups who are just like, I can't change the light bulb. And you're like, I'm perfectly good on a not too tall ladder. I can change the light bulbs for you, etc. What I suggested was, when you get the book, choose some pages that relate to the person that you will say. It's a sibling. They could be older or younger than you. So you have a sibling. They are experiencing aspects of aging, issues, challenges, problems, or just some things they weren't expecting. Like, I went in for job interviews and everyone seems to be kind of hedging around about, well, you seem overqualified. And it's like, I seem old. Oh my goodness. You are the age of my oldest grandchild. And you think that because I have an outward appearance, just things that happen as you get older. So do one of those pages and then discuss your reaction to the prompts and to the, what if this happened? What if you needed help being bathed? Are you more comfortable with a family member? Maybe a particular one. Are you more comfortable with a complete stranger? And please let them wear a uniform. Are you more comfortable just, being dirty? It's like, oh, I think it's going to be temporary. It's an opportunity to talk about it. And so you can say to the person that that there are some things that are reducing their quality of life. They wouldn't have responded that way all the rest of their life, but now it's they seem to be unaware, or they just don't want to deal with the reality of it, and just go, you know what? I am taking this course. I have purchased this book. I'm working through this, and I responded this way. Well, let me show you the page. And then the person can look and go, well, I don't know who this Christine person is, but I have a friend who's gone through that. And I thought they did it wrong when they decided that they were just going to move right into, some sort of care facility, because I would rather have care in my home. It's like, ding, I just had an opportunity with no difficulties, no emotional, knowing that that is their preference. Or they could surprise you and just go, the moment that I cannot care for my own petunias, I'm done. I am done. I want the house sold, and I want to be somewhere where I watch someone else do all the work. It's like, I had no idea. I thought that was your catharsis, that your ethos. And it's like, if I'm having difficulty, or I'm getting scrapes and bumps and head wounds from my raised flower beds and everything, I'm done. I don't want that for the rest of my life. I don't want to regret. I want someone else to take care of it and be gone and never see my house again. Make a note. So
Yeah, I think
we're
about it.
at the ending point. You get to finish us out.
Well, I think about it like this, and I don't know if this will help people or not, but again, my mother's a social worker. My dad was a veterinarian. There really were no taboo topics in my family. We talk about everything and always have. But I think about, to your point about first understanding what you would want, and two, being able to articulate that. Um, the reason that you get a will isn't for you, right? When I die, I'm dead. I don't care what
Yeah.
happens to my stuff. The reason people get a will is for the loved ones that are left dealing with the fallout. Well, did he want this? And where did he want that gone? And I think he wanted to be cremated. I think he wanted to be buried. Understanding what you want and articulating that to those around you is, to me, one of the best ways you love those when you aren't able to speak for yourself. And so, to your point, find ways to have discussions with yourself, with your aging parents, with your children. Let's untaboo the idea of aging, because it's happening to all of us, and sticking our head in the sand isn't going to do anything. So let's begin to understand, do would I feel comfortable in a nursing home, and what is the difference between an independent living and an assisted living, and when learn a little bit. You don't have to be a subject matter expert, but learn a little bit about what you would want for you, and begin to tell those around you so that they do know. And if anybody feels like that's not a form of love, I'd love to have that conversation, because again, I really believe that the best way we take care of others is to, in some ways, take care of ourselves. And from that, that eases a lot of the burdens around us. And so again, what we do, it's the psychosocial element of helping a family understand where they are, navigate it, and find reprieve from what is hard situations. So,
Exactly. Lance, thank you so much. I believe in the email I said you're going to be the star of the show, and I was right again. It's been so comfortable
yeah,
talking with you, and you have a voice of authority that is infused with this is not easy. It's not going to be easy, and we're all doing the best that we can. So you've got your I know what I'm talking about, and the social worker, um let's communicate with each other and always finish off with oh, I understand this better, or hey, you pointed something out that you thought was fringe. It turns out that's really core to the values of the person that you are considering
yeah,
some care. And when I said temporary, if that's what the person needs to think, this is just temporary, we're just trying it out. If that's what they need to think, to know, oh, I'm not signing it away. I'm not signing my loved one away.
Sure.
then use that mindset. Thank you so much for today, for this hour, for talking about the things. That is why aspects of aging as a live broadcast exists, because a lot of people are like, let's not talk about those unpleasant things. Let's just deal with it when it happens. I'm not that old yet, or whatever. I'm not
Yes.
that far
Yes.
gone yet. I just,
Yeah.
this is, and get it to the point where you're just like, ooh, can I talk about that? Is that okay? Are you okay with me talking about this? And it's like,
Yeah.
I need to be, whether I feel it or not. Someone's got to be the grown up around here. It may as well be all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bless your heart. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And once again, homeinstead.com/Waco TX for Texas. And you are the largest network of
Yeah.
your that does what you do. You don't come in and give shots. You
That's right.
come in and do what a loved one or
Yeah.
a great friend would do.
We're
All
providing
those things.
non-medical activities of daily living. So bathing, dressing, grooming, transportation, all the non-medical essentials to keep a loved one safe and in their home or in the hospital or in facility, whatever that looks like. So,
Yay. And companionship. Thank
yep.
you very, very much. Continue to have a great Monday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.